Hello, so today we're going to be going over a mage game. This is going to be a SORAKA SERAPHINE reroll. It's actually been the entire set, and I have never gotten a spot to play SORAKA SERAPHINE, at least in the recent patches, where I felt like I had a really good opener for it, and it's often very contested. But if you look here, I start with a Galio, it's Scuttle Puddle, I start with multiple Sorakas. I'm actually in a really good spot here for what I would think is a Seraphine Soraka reroll. Ideally on Scuttle Puddle, you want to sell early just to make 10 gold at least one of these early stages. Basically, each of the crabs drops you an extra gold. But I'll talk about Scuttle Puddle a lot in this particular game because it impacts a lot of the decisions I made along the way. If you like my content, make sure to like and subscribe if you're from one of the guides or one of the more fun videos. What we normally do we do a daily VOD channel, and I usually do daily VOD reviews. This is what I think is like one of the best ways to learn, just have somebody go over a game and explain their thought process at every step of the way. But either way, we're going to look for an early augment here. We're looking, Unified isn't that great, and Caretaker isn't that great with one cost reroll, so I don't necessarily want to take either of those combats. We're looking for anything that gives either AP or gives things that can help out my board. Molten Caramel maybe seems like a little bit of bait, but I hit Magic Wand. It's usually very good with mages. Just gives you an extra rod, so you have good item slams for later, and you can kind of play around that. Anyways, this seems like a good mage reroll spot. When you're playing one cost rerolls, you really want to start with a lot of copies of the units, and you also want to have items that are pretty manageable for your board. So here, I can either make Morello and play around the other components, but I can also make Spark and then play around the Gnasher's Tooth, which is an alright item on both of the units. Typically when you're playing this board, there are going to be two main variations that you play. I'm going to actually go over them right now. Let's just go on Team Builder. So when you're building the board, you're typically going to be building around SORAKA SERAPHINE. I think the better version in my opinion is to play around Vertical Mage. So a lot of times you'll play a board like this, and then you'll play a Rumble. Rumble will just give you your Sugarcraft stacks, because eventually by the end of the game, you'll cash out like the extra component and some gold. So a lot of times you'll just play Rumble and Galio, and then you'll try and 3-star as many of these units as possible. This is the typical mage variation where you just play 7 mage, and then Vex becomes your main tank eventually. So what usually happens is you'll try and hit Soraka and Seraphine, you'll gather a bunch of Galios and a bunch of Rumbles along the way there, but then you will cap out around rolling for Vigra and Vex. And you don't have to necessarily worry about Vigra 3, because only if you have items you'll worry about Vigra 3, but typically you're trying to cap out around at least a Vex 2. Vex 2 is really stable and really strong, but if you can, you'll try and make it to Vex 3, and you'll play 7 Mage, because 7 Mage will make your Soraka and your Seraphine go like absolutely nuts. Whenever you're playing these units, if you ever get a sword, you pretty much are forced to make a Shojin. I think both the units like blue buff a little bit better, just in terms of the stats that it gives them. But either way, you don't have to worry too much about it. Shojin is totally fine. A lot of times it's more efficient to make Shojin, because sword is like a useless item a lot of times. Whenever you're playing Seraphine, a lot of times I just like to have the anti-heal on the Seraphine because she hits multiple units, but Seraphine is often your main damage dealer, so you want to try and put as strong of AP items as possible. The items are very flexible. Don't look at these and say these are the items I'm building on Seraphine. Whatever you get, just try and make logical frontline and backline items. Stack as much AP as possible and as much damage as possible. Stuff like Shojin, if you have a Shojin, you typically want to pair it with a Gnasher's just because it has good synergy. Gnasher's gives you a bunch of attack speed, and then the Shojin gives you the mana so you can cast multiple times. So if you have a Shojin, Gnasher's works out really well. But any backline items really work on both the Soraka and the Seraphine. You should often prioritize Seraphine, but whoever you hit first as your 3-star unit, you're going to get removers throughout the game, so itemize that unit. And then your frontline items are always going to be like frontline AP items. In other cases, you can go for Galio 3 sometimes. It's definitely worse than Vex, but in some cases, that's the best that you can do, so that's what you end up doing. Alternatively, there is another variation. I'm just going to remove some of the high cost units here and just show it as a low cost board for now. But basically what you can also do is you can play around Blitzcrank and play around 4 Vanguard. So typically your situation will look something like this in your mid game, like once you make it to level 6 after hitting your units. You go for 3-star Galio, you can also go for 3-star Rumble, but you're typically going for 3-star Blitzcrank as your main tank, because Blitzcrank just works really well as a frontline unit. And then you level for like around 5 Mage later, and if you're really high roll, you can then push levels to hit like 7 Mage or some higher level of whatever. This Vanguard version is really good at learning to spell, because you start with the 1 cost and it's a lot more of efficient rolling, because you don't have to high roll like Seraphine, Soraka, and then level for Vex and all of that shit. Instead, you can just stabilize around a Blitzcrank 3, a Seraphine 3, and a Soraka 3 very, very early, and then push levels later. But these two variations, I don't like this one as much. I think the 7 Mage is a lot better, at least from what I've seen, and when I watch regionals and those tournaments, I don't really like this one. But sometimes if you're contested, you can just like play one or the other, so you have some options, to so to speak. Anyway, let's head back to the game to VOD review. So I've kind of been skipping around a little bit. Here you can see I'm angling myself towards the Mage variation. Of course, you kind of have to play it by like what you hit in your lobby. If you hit a lot of Vanguards, just play the Vanguard variation. It's definitely better. I think in my lobby there is a Warwick reroller, or there is some sort of Vanguard player. I remember when I scouted, eventually I scout and I noticed it. I don't know if I skipped that part when I was talking to you about the board strength, but I'm not going to go back and like extend the video by looking at the VOD. Just know that there is another person that is holding on to a bunch of Vanguard units, so I'm definitely leaning towards the Mage variation. But as you can see, I was winning a couple rounds. I slammed items early because it was Scuttle Puddle. You really want to have a lot of HP in Scuttle Puddle. You're going to have gold. Make sure you make your econ intervals. Win streaking and lose streaking is also very important. But I was decently strong. I had 2 items slammed. I didn't have a Vanguard to put in. I should have played this Warwick this turn. I think I won't notice it because I'm just like talking to chat. More likely than not. Like you can see what I mean. Like when I'm talking here, you know, if I remove the color source, you'll see that I'm just like yapping in the background of the actual stream video a lot of the time. But either way, we're in a pretty good spot. We have 5 Sorakas. That's a decent amount. We're hoping to hit all the Sorakas that we can. There also, when I scouted, I think because there was a Warwick reroller, there's also a Poppy, like a Poppy hero augment right here that you can see. So that's 2 tanky Blitzcrank as well, so that's why Blitzcrank's going to be probably very contested, and I haven't hit any, so the Vanguard variation is a little bit difficult. But either way, it looks as though there are multiple 1-cost rerolls. Whenever you're playing a 1-cost reroll comp, you always want there to be other 1-cost rerollers, not that you're contested, but that they're buying other units. The reason that's really, really important is because it thins out the pool. If they buy a bunch of units, it'll make it harder for you to see those units. That's the same way like being contested is always bad type of beat. The idea is that like I'm looking for Sorakas and Seraphines. If someone is buying all the Poppies and someone is buying all the Warwicks and someone is buying all the Blitzcranks, then I run into a spot where it's like, okay, it's going to be really easy for me to find these couple Sorakas, couple Seraphines, because the other units have been bought out, so to speak. So we love to see it. Scuttle Puddle, I would mention here, Scuttle Puddle is like a high roller's fantasy. I'm not particularly amazingly high rolling here. The problem with Scuttle Puddle, the main issue that you would have in most of your games is that the people that hit really hard, and the people that don't hit lose really aggressively. It causes a large disparity based on like how good your rolls are and how good you hit. If you high roll, you'll have enough gold to level, you'll have enough gold to hit your units, you'll have enough gold to like cap out your board. If you don't high roll, you're going to run into a position where you won't have any of the units that you need, you'll be in a very difficult spot, everything will be bad. So if you look here, at 70 gold, right, it's Scuttle Puddle, so everybody's really rich, so I'm going to roll this 70 gold down to around 30 gold, and I'm going to hope that I hit as many units as I can. I'm finding a lot of Gallios, but I'm 2 off of Soraka. I'm not finding that many Seraphines. But I'm rolling as much gold as I can. This is like a 40 gold roll down. I start off with 5 Sorakas. I stopped a little bit early, but I'm gonna roll a little bit after the fact. You always want to roll on 3-1 because if you don't push any levels, you'll see that I'm still level 4. So I'm trying to give myself the greatest 1-cost roll down ability. So I did buy these Gallios because it's really hard not to buy them because it's like a really big point of stabilization. So my bench is a little bit expensive. I could sell and roll a little bit more, but this was a pretty mid roll down. It was definitely not good. The reason it's not good is because I hit neither 3-star Seraphine or 3-star Soraka. I found a lot of Gallios, which is good. That'll help me cap out later. The problem is I have no point of stabilization for my mid game. So I usually with this comp, when you want to hit at least one of them, you want to hit at least one of the 3 stars for your mid game, because then your stage 3 is very easy. You win a lot of stage 3. You could push levels. You can go to level 7. You can roll for Vex. That's not happening. We're going to be stuck on level 5 for a while, and that's really, really bad in Scuttle Puddle, because if you look around, some of the other 1-cost rerollers, they hit their units. And by them hitting their units, now they can, like, with the same amount of gold, they can now reestablish because they're rich. Go to push levels, get to higher levels, get to level 8, level 9, and cap out really high. Here I have two options. I have shields up and I have the Mage Emblem. Now, Mage Emblem gives me a Galio, which I'm close to Galio 3. So I say, you know, because my roll down for Soraka and Seraphine was pretty bad, I'm down to take this, have a Mage Emblem, and then play around a Galio 3 instead. The shields up for Vanguard is also really, really good. Don't get me wrong. If you look at the stats, we could double check it. Remember I told you there was two variations? If I go Soraka 3, Seraphine 3, just a filter for this particular comp. If we go on augments, you'll see that a Mage Crest is a little bit plus, right? If you average a 3.97, Mage Emblem isn't the greatest thing that you can hit. Obviously, Mage Crown is really good, but that's because Prismatic, it gives you like a spark, it has more utility. So that's why the Prismatic version is a lot better. But you can see that's not that bad, especially if you take it at 3-2. It's like, it's more bad if you're like forcing your hand towards it. It's more so like if it's good for your comp, you could probably play it. Shields up is way better. Oh, actually it's not. 3-2, it's a little bit better, right? So of the two options, shields up is the better option. But the problem is, I think I'm contested because of the other Blitzcrank player. I don't have that many Blitzcranks, nor do I have that many Warwicks. I'm very close to hitting Galio 3, but in my thought process, what I looked at is I said I'd rather take the Mage Emblem because it's Scuttle Puddle, so I'm surely going to be able to make it to level 7 even if I low roll. And hitting 7 Mage without having to worry about hitting the Nora is going to be a huge spike for my board because it's just way better. Right, 7 Mage is one of the best things you can hit for this comp. If I sort by the comp, it's just the way it is. 7 Mage is a huge power spike always. So I want to make sure that I make it to 7 Mage. Like I said, I didn't particularly high roll. This guy got shields up. This guy's playing Hui probably. So this is another Vanguard player in addition to the Blitzcrank player. So it's not even like I have a good opportunity to hit like a Mordekaiser 3 or anything like that with shields up. So all in all, generally, like, you know, it's really good in a vacuum. To play one way or another way, but in this case I felt like my hand was kind of forced. Nobody's playing mages, so maybe I can still hit a Vex 3 eventually. We get a Scuttle Puddle with a spatula carousel. I take the other spatula or I take the frying pan to make 2 Mage Emblems. Now I know that that seems really troll. The reason I took it is mostly to deny other people from hitting some crazy shit. I already know that I'm kind of low rolling. I'll need a little bit of a bailout. We're basically at this point just playing for 4th, right? I know that that sounds really crazy. It might be like, but you're playing mages. It's really high cap, whatever. The reason that I'm saying that I'm playing for 4th here is because I just feel like I'm very far behind. Right now I'm level 5. There's going to be people in the lobby that are level 7. There might be people that are pushing level 8 because it's Scuttle Puddle. There's going to be people that are win streaking, that are very, very strong. And because I lost so many rounds, I have very low HP. I still haven't hit my board, right? As you can see, I'm rolling for this Soraka. And I'm trying not to break econ intervals, right? I'm trying to stay at 50 gold. I'm nowhere close to Seraphine. I'm 2 off of Galio, but I'm still level 5. Look, I'm fighting a board that's level 7 right now. That's the problem with Scuttle Puddle a lot of times. If you don't hit right away, and you don't hit, like, you know, this would be like an average game if it wasn't Scuttle Puddle, right? If it wasn't Scuttle Puddle, I'd be level 5. This guy would probably be level 6. And it would be a little bit more, like, closer together in terms of the power levels. But the problem is, like, you know, if someone's, like, ahead of you, they just get more and more ahead and you get more and more behind, so to speak. I should probably just make econ and sell the Viger here, honestly. It's not worth holding on to at this point. Just make 50. So I'm trying to roll here. I want to hit at least Soraka 3. And then get a 3rd item on the Soraka. I know I wasted some emblems. Some components making these, or making this other Mage Emblem. But like I said, I just took it because it was mostly to deny other people. There's lots of other high rollers, and I was like relatively first pick. I don't want to make it so that everybody except me gets a frying pan and then just puts themselves into a Giga position. Here, there's a lot of options I could do. I can play around Arcana now. I can play 4 Vanguard with 5 Mage. I can also play 7 Mage and drop a Vanguard. It makes it a lot easier for me, right? I don't need to rely on Nami. And I could also drop some of the more shit units that maybe don't have items like later in the game. So that's why I took it. Obviously, if I would have preferred if it wasn't a frying pan / spatula carousel, but it is what it is. And as you can see, now that I have Seraphine Soraka 3, I'm probably going to start winning some of these fights. It's just a little bit like too late in a way. I'm level 550 gold, which is fine. It's just that everybody else, or not everybody else, but a lot of other people in the lobby are like level 750 gold. And a lot of the other rerollers are like level 650 gold because they hit a little bit earlier. It just puts me in an awkward spot. And that's the main thing. Here, I'm one off Seraphine, but I can't just roll on level 5 only for Seraphine. So you're actually going to notice that I'm playing for placements. I'm just going to try and push levels here. I'm not trying to go for the Giga win out. I want to make it to at least level 7. Level 7 gives you a good opportunity to find not only Nami, but also to find Nora, and both are really huge spikes for your board. Obviously, with the 2 mage emblems, I could have played towards 4 Vanguard as well. I might still end up doing something like that, but the chances are I'll just play 2 Vanguard, I'll play an extra unit for Chrono to give my whole team a Chrono heal, and then I'm going to try and go for Vex Viger on level 7, unless I feel really threatened. Then I'll push level 8 to try and play around some 4 cost, maybe Arcana, something else that buffs my whole board. That's my general game plan because it didn't go particularly well in the early game. Which is totally fine. That happens. It is what it is. Excuse me. So here I'm just pushing levels to 7. Like I said, I'm not going to roll for Seraphine. I'm 1 off of it. I'm also 1 off Galio, and I would ideally like to make it to 7 Mage. With Viger and Vex, if I make it to level 7, I instantly get the ability to play 7 Mage, and that will help on my board a lot. I tried reforging the cloak in order to make a item for Soraka. That didn't work out, so it is what it is. Anything is good on Soraka. Like I said, Soraka is my first 3-star unit, so that's good. Eventually, Seraphine will be better damage. A lot of times, Soraka is more like utility. She does a lot of damage as well, don't get me wrong, but it's usually better to just itemize the Seraphine. So we'll see how it goes. This guy, I don't have anti-heal, and yeah, I don't see this going well. It's too tanky. Yeah, I don't have enough damage to chew through this Blitzcrank, so I'm going to lose this fight as well. We're kind of free-falling, but once we hit 7 Mage, and if we have Galio 3, 7 Mage, and some other things, we're looking for a really good augment here. LDP, Long Distance Pals, is pretty good. Mages, typically LDP doesn't matter that much, but compared to the other ones, Avenge the Fallen is not great because, like, I'm not playing that many units on my board, so I don't get a lot of value off of it. If 3 units die, I'm probably dead. Little Buddies isn't good. I'm not playing around 5 cost. Balanced Budget isn't good because it's Scuttle Puddle. You know, trying to save myself by taking Augment for gold isn't really going to do anything. So here I'm just going to level. I'm probably going to roll till around 30, try and find a Vex 2 to try and stabilize. I'm going to play 7 Mage. Like I said, I'm not rolling on lower levels because I'm trying to catch up now. Right, I hit my Soraka 3. I'm hoping that I hit somebody else. Like either Vex 2, I hit Galio 3, there's a couple other points that I can stabilize, and this is basically what I'll play for the time being. I can drop this Blitzcrank for a Chrono, that's what I eventually will do. I just have to be more vigilant. I didn't even check now that I'm talking on my roll down, but ideally what you should have done if you were playing really well is that on your roll down on level 7, you try and find a Chrono unit, like any Chrono unit that gives you the passive Chrono healing for your whole team. And then you will drop the Blitzcrank, play 2 Vanguard, and then just fit in an extra Chrono. And that's usually what you do. Like I said, having these Sugarcraft stacks is pretty good because the cash out gives you a bunch of gold as well as a component. A lot of times a component is really important. You don't know for sure until later how important a component is. Basically, in TFT, you can have an even number of components where you can make a bunch of items, or you can end off the game after raptors or birds, however you want to call them. At the end of the stage, you might end up with an odd number of components. And that's when it's really powerful to get an extra component off Sugarcraft. Because if you have an odd number of components, then getting an extra component will take a singular component and turn it into a whole item. So you always have to be vigilant of those things. Obviously, a component is always like somewhat good, but that's the main thing that you should always take note of. This guy's school mascot, he doesn't have 3 stars yet, so I might actually beat him. This is what I mean by 7 Mage. I feel like 7 Mage, you stabilize really hard without any 3 stars. So long as you have at least 1 main damage dealer. I might still lose this. Depends. If you had a Cassio 3 or if you had a second Cassio item, I definitely could have lost. But for the time being, very strong right now. This is usually how mages go, right? A lot of times you're trying to hit Seraphine 3, Soraka 3, level to 7, hit 7 mage, then you're kind of stable for stage 4, then stage 5, you can decide what you do, you can roll down, and you can play around those units. Here, I think I made a huge mistake. What did I take? I took Belt? Why did I take Belt? I should have taken Bow here, I'm pretty sure. What the fuck did I do that for? Okay, so that's a toss. Okay, so that was a huge mistake. I don't have anti-heal right now. So I don't know why I took belt. I should have taken the smolder, which was a 5 cost. So it's already really good because it's a lot of gold that I can sell. Oh no, I took smolder with thing. I did take the smolder. Okay, never mind. I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. When I looked at the board, was there I guess there was another knife pup. Oh, I probably got confused because somebody else in the lobby has the same avatar as me. Okay, good. Smolder is 5 gold, and it gives me red buff, which is anti-heal, and red buff is good on pretty much all of them. It's fine. It's like a damage amp item. It's good enough. Here I'm rolling slightly. I should put in Tom. I could put in Tom Kench, but like I said, I'm just have the rumble in for Sugarcraft. This guy's really strong. He's Witchcraft Karma with Blightening Jewel. That's like the strongest variation of Karma that you can have. He might delete my backline before I get past this Nico. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Just a little bit stronger than I am right now. I think if I had Seraphine through, I win this for sure. Just like the amount of damage. If I also had like 1 or 2 more items, I definitely could have beat this guy. So that's a rough loss to take. It's also a positioning diff because if I put Soraka on the opposite side, I might have been able to clutch out there. But it's okay. Witchcraft Karma with Blightning Jewel is very, very strong. So it's going to absolutely melt a lot of the boards. But anyways, we're just playing for placements here. So we're probably going to use our gold pretty aggressively. There's no real way to like hope that we get bailed out or anything like that. Most of the lobby that is reroll hits way harder than me. Has a lot of like better units on their board. The only people that haven't hit yet are like these boards, for example, where they're rolling for 3 costs. But this guy is like level 7, 50 gold, rolling for 3 costs, and he's one off of like everything. You know what I mean? So usually with Scuttle Puddle, you expect to hit really hard, right? The people that are playing reroll, if you don't hit everybody right away, like how I didn't hit everybody right away, I still don't have a second damage dealer. I'm still carrying Soraka, which is the worst of the 2. And I started the game with like 5 Sorakas, and it felt like it took me an eternity, given how much gold I had from Scuttle Puddle to hit the Sorakas. So, you know, it's a little bit awkward. That the reason I just want to make sure that everybody understands. The reason I keep bringing it up is just because this is the way you should be thinking when you're playing the game. You should think about yourself not in a vacuum, but relative to the rest of the people. If it looks like they're in better spots than you, you have to be prepared to not play for first, right? I'm not trying to go level 9. I'm not trying to go level 8 and roll for like 100 fucking units, right? I'm not trying to like win the game, right? At this point, you have to be in like self-preservation mode. You have to think to yourself, I need to get a top 4, so I have to play for 4th. I need to make sure that I make decisions that will be actively good in my current matchups, and that I will make it to level 8 and make it like, you know, that I'll make it to a top 4 and not just go 8th is what I meant to say. So for example, here I'm trying to look for what's my best use of items. I want to complete one of the Galio items. I make Archangels because the reason I made Archangels, by the way, is because I am long distance pals. I fit my Seraphine 3, I'm rolling on level 7. You're bound to hit one of them. Like I said, the rest of the lobby, there were a lot of 1-cost rerollers. The benefit of that is that you will be likely to hit your 1-cost, even if it's not on like level 4, level 5. So now that I have Seraphine 3, I can LDP the Seraphine and the Soraka. I can rearrange the items a little bit. I want to get a mana gen item on Seraphine so she casts a little bit more. But Archangels is really, really strong, because LDP makes it so that it shares the Archangel scaling on the other units. I have double Gargoyle on my Galio, so my Galio is really good as a solo frontline to tank everything. Now I have 2 options. I can continue rolling on level 7, but now there's a good opportunity for me to push a level and then play 4 Vanguard to help support my Galio. I can also drop to play Arcana. Now is a spot where we probably want to go level 8. If we didn't find this Seraphine early enough, if we didn't find Seraphine very early, then what we could have done alternatively is continue rolling on 7, and maybe we collect a bunch of Vexes and collect a bunch of Vigors, and then we can play 3-star Vigor, 3-star Vex with our 7 mage in addition to what we were doing, right? We had like 2 strategies open. But now we have Galio 3, 4 Vanguard. It worked out because we had Galio 3 in hindsight. Like back when we took Mage Crown, it might have been better to just have taken what's it called? the Vanguard augment. But here we are very, very strong. These boards, we should be able to beat most people with LDP and the Archangels. I rearranged my items a little bit because I want the anti-heal on the Soraka, and I have 2 Nashers too, so I put the, I think Archangels works really well on the Soraka, and then the Seraphine I want to have the anti-heal and the Nashers, and then I'm just going to wait for one more mana item. I think it would have been better for me to put blue buff on Seraphine in terms of damage, but I just wasn't sure because at one point, there's like this awkward point in the middle of the game where like 3 items on Soraka is better because she has the Sugarcraft stacks, which I have a lot of. But in a lot of cases, it's usually Seraphine that's your main damage dealer, so you should always triple item Seraphine as early as possible. But as you can see, we're relatively stable. Like I said, we didn't roll really aggressively low gold. We wanted to make sure that we were able to make it to like this type of board state. I'm not sure if we're gonna win out. Like, we're definitely not playing for first here because there are people that are way ahead, both in terms of HP, right? There's a guy with 75 HP. You know what I mean? Look at this board. We lost to this board because he has Eldritch +1 because he got the spat. He has School Mascot, 7 Eldritch, scaled Archangels, was able to chew through our board. Our board has holes in it. That's why we pushed level 8. If we rolled to 0 on level 7, we maybe hit Vex 3, but there's another guy that was holding Vex, right? So I don't know what's going on. So Vex 3 is probably a better tank than Galio, especially for late game. But we can't necessarily just play around that. Here there's no real good items for me to take, so I just take Shiv. I know I have Spark already, but the other items aren't that great. I've seen people put IE on Seraphine sometimes for more damage, but I'd rather just take Shiv at this case. It gives her a little bit of starting mana as well, and a little bit of AP. I think that's a little bit better than putting, especially with LDP, it's a little bit better than the other stuff. Like, for example, look at this guy. He has Nora 2 Rise 2. It's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's like there's lots of people that are just like very, very strong. This guy is the other guy that was saying with the Vanguards. He has like all 3-star backline, right? The quality of other people's boards is way higher than mine. So I'm just like, I chose to push level because I get the 4 Vanguard in. It makes my board stronger. I'm playing for 4th, right? If we were greeding to try and play for 1st, obviously the highest cap is to roll on level 7, hit Vex 3, hit Vigor 3, itemize Vigor, itemize Vex, have Giga frontline, have Giga damage, and just win the game. However, in these spots, it's like, you know, I'm trying to make it to like level 9 maybe. I should also probably be buying Charms. Level 9 is good because I get to fit in Arcana with the Tom Kench. But I should probably buy Charms here to play for placement. Like, now I should roll for a Charm or some shit. I could level for Arcana, actually. I'm cutting it really close. I think there's an argument, like, in my head, I think during the game, the same as now, I usually value leveling for Arcana. Because sometimes when I roll for Charm, I just hit the fucking most useless ass, bitch ass Charms, and it sucks. But the correct decision is on stage 5, you should roll for Charm every single turn. So I think that was probably the right decision. I should have just rolled for Charm the last 2 turns that I lost. And then that would have likely put me in a better spot to go 9 and play around it. This guy, for some reason, he rolled really aggressively on 8. So he's literally like 0 gold level 8. I don't know if he's just scared because he hit some like high rollers. But I'm pretty sure if I'm able to make it level 9, this guy surely should have made it to level 9, not playing a reroll comp. So I don't know what happened to him. But as long as I can kill his Rise before it casts more than once, I can, or more than, like, as long as I can kill the Rise before it casts an additional time, I'm able to beat him, which is great. Like I said, we're in a good spot to go for 4th. Obviously, the high rollers are going to be really high roll. Those are the 2 people that are in the top of the board, right? Everybody else has really low HP. The Syndra player is like giga fucking strong. The Surecraft player, sorry, the Honeymancy player is very strong because they have 2 tanky and it's just like broken and they hit everything 3-star. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, we don't even have a Nora yet, by the way. Like, we have 2 Mage Emblems, which doesn't really do anything. And we have no Nora, no Nami. Now, mind you, we didn't roll that much on level 7 or level 8. But still, it's like, bro, like that's not good. Here I should just go for, like, either frontline items or damage items. Both are fine. Yeah, I find a blue buff. I can switch up my Seraphine items a little bit here. And I can also itemize Vigor for a little bit of additional damage. Yeah, I think this was played okay. The only thing I think was really sus about me, what I did here, was a little bit in the middle of the game when I didn't buy charms in those couple fights. I think that was a bit of a throw. I should be buying a charm this turn. I'm very fucking slow. Yeah, I just got a shitty charm. I should have rolled all my gold for a really good charm, because there's a good chance I lose this fight in particular. Like, everybody in the lobby looks like they're stronger than me that is in my pool. So I should have definitely rolled aggressively here for a charm, because this fight might literally be a charm diff. And then Galio fucking sucks compared to Vex, so Galio's fucking dead already. Which, you know, who would have thunk it any different? So yeah, it's just a 4th. The ending, I think I played okay. But, like, you know, the ending of this game, I kind of tossed. But it was probably because I was stressed. Just stressed with my situation. I should have bought charms the last 2 fights. I probably would have saved a little bit of HP. I still would have been able to make it to 9. My Arcana bonus isn't even that great because it's just a little bit of durability. We get a 4th, which is alright. But as you can see, a lot of it was just pressure from Scuttle Puddle, right? Like, I never beat the, like, everybody's board value is more expensive than mine, right? Like, the top player has two 3 stars, both 2 costs, and is the same level as me. The other guy has 3 2-star, 3 2-star, 3 costs. The other guy has 2 3-star, 3 costs with the 3-star, 2 costs. And me, I have SORAKA, Seraphine, and Galio as my only units that are upgraded, right? Like, if you look at the rest of the board, like, it's clear that my board is well beyond the amount of gold, which obviously could be me mismanaging it and all sorts of other stuff like that. But that's what I mean by I was in dire straits. The Portal guy that I outplaced could have easily beat me. He has a Scholar Emblem, so he just wasn't playing super optimal. 6 Scholar Rise is way better than playing around Portal. And he has Emilio. If you look at his board, the guy who went 5th. So he could have, not only could he have made it to 9, before going to 9 with a Scholar Emblem, he could have very easily outcapped and played a stronger variation of the board. So, you know, this was barely a 4th. Obviously, I misplayed many of the last couple of fights because I could have bought charms and take less losses and put myself in a better spot rather than just, like, save up my econ and try and push level 9 in 2 turns. I think the better strat is what I didn't do. Also, taking Mage Emblem was a little bit weird in the middle of the game, but it was just because I think that it was more for like a consistent placement, because at that point I was already like very suspicious about how I would have done without having hit Seraphine or Soraka already. But anyways, that was Seraphine Soraka reroll. Always be careful when you're playing rerolls in Scuttle Puddle, because people just like randomly get really fucking strong if you hit hard. So obviously be very careful about that. I always recommend when it's Scuttle Puddle to try and play around 4 costs if there's like a viable 4 cost meta that's currently there. Just because like it's easier for you to have gold to hit on that roll down, and then to also be at a spot where you can level and play 5 costs that usually are very strong. But either way, thank you for watching. Hopefully that was enjoyable. I should be making a guide for tomorrow, and then it's going to be regionals on the weekend, so I might play a little bit of TFT maybe tomorrow or something. We'll see how I feel. But either way, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of the day, and see you around.